outside of getting into senseless physical altercations, I want to share with you what I believe to be the most ignorant thing that guys do, especially in the world of fighting. Stick around. This seems to be a very simple thing, and you would think after all the time that mankind has spent on this earth that we would finally start to get this. The most ignorant thing that men do especially is size up other men and then make decisions based on that. This has gotten more dudes knocked out, choked out, and shot probably more than anything else in the world of altercations. Although there's a part of me that believes it's in our genetic makeup to size each other up, we have to be careful doing this when it comes to the possibility of something going down. I'm of the belief that fights are avoidable for the most part, but I'm also of the belief that some, unfortunately, are not. There's a stigma that we attach to people, man. We think if somebody's very skinny, that they must be weak and powerless, they can't hit hard, they can't handle themselves. And we look at a guy who's fat and out of shape and we'll think, man, this guy's slow, he can't do anything, he's nothing but a lazy piece of crap, there's nothing to this guy. And so often people have found out that they were wrong. Regardless of our natural tendency to think this way about people and to judge them that way, we need to not do this when it comes to the possibility of getting into it with them. Yes, there's a lot of skinny guys out there that are just the way you imagine. They're skinny, they don't ever work out, they're weak. There's a lot of guys who are very overweight that are just as you imagine. They're slow and they can't do anything, they don't have any endurance. But man, there are people that will surprise you. This happens all the time. There's a lot of guys out here who are really skinny and they box, they do MMA, they practice jiu-jitsu, they train with weapons. People who are skinny, people who are fat, people who are short, people you think you got their number, they can easily pull out a blade and stab you. That's the world we live in, and that's how we have to think. And a lot of these skinny guys are a lot stronger than you think. There are guys out here that people would consider fat that are crazy strong and so much faster than you can imagine. There are people that you think are short and have no reach who will dominate you with their leverage. There's a lot of guys out here who got in fights with people just because they thought it was a sure thing and they got hurt. And don't think you can so easily guess people's weight either. There are people that you may look at and you think, man, that guy don't weigh but 150 pounds, and you grab a hold of him and he feels like he's 190 pounds because he is. Let me give you a perfect example of this, just of something I experienced recently. I had a guy come in my comment section one day talking about how I was like 160 pounds. And if I was, that'd be cool, but I'm 210 pounds. That's 50 pounds different than what he looked at me and thought. I was at a get together one time when I was about 25 years old, and there was a young man there who wrestled in high school. He was a senior, he was about 200 pounds, I believe that's what he said. He got to clowning around with everybody and he came after me and wanted to wrestle me. Well, long story short, I overpowered him and I submitted him with a jiu-jitsu rear naked choke. And when we stood back up, he said, dang man, how much do you weigh? I said, how much do you think that I weigh? He said, I thought you were like 150 pounds. I said, dude, I'm 185 pounds. But in his mind, he thought he was jumping on a 150 pound guy. At that time, I was 185 and I was 7 years older than him. Some people may not look that big, they're just very solid. And when you grab a hold of them, you find out. The answer to all of this is a level head and humility with regards to how things can really go down. If we get into it with somebody, it should be because they have given us no other option. It should not be because we see an easy meal and we want to test ourselves. And that's the problem with a lot of people getting in fights out here on the street. They don't have any alternative to test themselves. They're not on the wrestling team. They're not at the local MMA gym. They're not at the boxing gym. They're not in the weight room. A lot of these people are just out here wanting to test their physicality, and they believe they see an easy target. And for whatever reason, they don't mind getting into it with them. They think, oh, I'm taller than them, or they're skinny, or they're fat and out of shape. And a lot of times they end up getting hurt. Listen, fellas, some guys out here are just Wolverines, man. They're just savage. They just explode when you mess with them. They explode when you test them. We need to be respecting everybody. And again, we don't fight unless we have no other option. A buddy of mine used to be a deputy. He's about 6'6". At the time, he weighed about 280 pounds, and he worked in one of the prisons as a guard. He said the hardest fight with anybody he ever had as a law enforcement officer was a little skinny guy in a prison cell who had lost his mind, and they were trying to apprehend him. So I'll end by saying this: train hard, take care of yourself, be prepared at all times, but don't think you've got everybody figured out just by what you see, because it's not always what you see. Take care.